What is happening, my friends? It's like we got a few of you out there. Farmers for Truth, Big Kahuna, Debbie W., Chris Thompson, Kim, County Poe. Looks like Cheryl's in here and coming on here, so that's good. Yemi the Greek, how are you? Nene, my favorite, where you been? We missed you. Awesome. I hope I didn't miss anybody. If I did, I'm sure I'll get to you throughout the end of the show. If you guys can all hear me, just let me know, please. Let's see here. Anybody see me? Oh, loud and clear. Oh, come on, Chris Thompson. You know that's not my favorite. Where is loud and clear anyway? Anybody know? Just asking for a friend. Man, there was some things that are happening. This Epstein saga going on, I guess you would say. Farmer says he doesn't hear shit, and well, that's because he lives in the boonies. Eden and Truth in You, how are you? All right, well, we got a pretty good show lined up tonight. We're going to have Miss Cheryl Bull on for the first time, so that ought to be good. And she's going to talk a little Vegas with us, and then I think we're going to move on to a few other subjects she wants to talk on. Paladin will be here shortly. I believe he had an error, but I think he's good now. But he'll be here shortly. And Miss KO fashionably late as usual. It just happens that way. So with that being said, I just want to introduce you guys to Cheryl Bull. I want to let her talk, maybe tell a little bit about herself, and then we'll move on with the show. So Miss Cheryl, how are you?
I'm doing great. How's everybody out there?
Well, it is fantastic here. But when I say hot, it's a different level hot today. I mean, I thought I was going to pass out for a second.
Humidity.
Oh, that and man, it was like 100 degrees and just it was rough out there, but I made it through and I'm here. So, and I'm glad to have you on for the first time. And you want to tell the guys anything about yourself, or as much as you want, much as you don't want, either way you want to go.
Well, I have to say that I had been involved with security, doing different roles in security. When the Vegas shooting took place, there were many things that I knew just was not adding up, and I knew something was wrong. And then it just seemed like stuff that started after Trump was elected and all these things that were occurring, happening. It was almost like putting two and two together to figure out where you're at and start searching, and why the investigation isn't being conducted on people that needs to be investigated on. I'm kind of wondering what's going on here, A lot of things that end up, I mean, I found out the next morning, finding out that a friend of mine had a cousin at the Route 91 Fest, and he was telling me what happened. My concern was, why Was these gates closed? Why did he have to go through trouble knocking down a gate, him and a group of guys? Then it was like there should be some kind of fire code that all those gates should not have been closed like they were. And more, I was watching stuff. I started watching things on YouTube, and I had noticed something very interesting with YouTube where there were things coming up on YouTube that there was an explosion behind the Luxor. And they showed a hole and a picture of the Luxor with a hole behind there where there was the so-called explosion. All of a sudden, that got taken down, and you didn't hear a thing about that anymore. Another thing that raised concerns was the fact it was mentioned they found anaphia in the suite of paddocks all over. All of a sudden, that got hushy. Never heard a word about that anymore. And when that was brought up, that's when a lot of flags went up with the anaphia. Because it seems like that started after Trump was elected with these riots they're trying to pull and blocking roads and destroying historical statues. All that was a concern to me. And then I end up hearing something that the person who's the CEO is one of the top ranks with anaphia, and who went and sold all those shares of stocks 2 weeks prior before the shooting. So always, it's like leaving a trail of crumbs right behind the scene where it leads. And then it seemed like somebody who took it was very angry of losing, who thought they're going to win. I recall remembering some kind of threat that American people will regret this or something. And I can't recall how it was worded. But I know not too long ago, somebody had mentioned, a statement made by Hillary.
Hey, Cheryl.
Yes.
They say it's breaking up on us, but I believe it's just you. Your phone's like cutting in and out.
How's it now?
You sound good now.
I sound good now?
Yep, you're good to go.
Okay.
Sorry.
But it just
so
seemed
you were speaking on Antifa, correct?
Yeah. Yes. Because it seems like lately, with all what's coming about with these shootings and Antifa, it's being brought up again. And it's like with the Ohio shooting, again, that was brought up, and whose names come into it is Democrats. So it's not leaving it look good on a Democrat Party, because it's gotten to the point there's not even such thing as a Democrat Party anymore. It's more of a socialism party to me.
That's what it seems like. I mean, I can agree. I can get behind that statement.
Well, I know they have been trying to creep in with gun control and all this stuff, the left have. And I know when they started this concealed weapon stuff. A friend of mine, he went to classes to get his concealed weapon, and I said to him, "Why did you do that?" And he said, "Because I want to be legal." I said, "You are legal. That's what our Second Amendment stands for," that people seem to forget. I said, they're trying to sneak these gun laws in, and you don't want them to do that. And I said, that's what the Second Amendment stands for. You shouldn't have to go get a concealed weapon to carry, because you carry it when you go hunting.
Well, and I don't know. I do understand totally what you're saying, but I do have a CWP. Just because I don't want to hear no shit about it, and they're going to look at you, and when you say hunting, they're going to say you don't hunt with a 40 cal, Springfield or a or a 45. I don't know, Ruger.
Well, now I told farmers, I probably say a good word about him.
He's here.
Is he still here?
He's still here.
He's setting this country a good example how to raise your kids. And he's teaching them how to be responsible when you're around guns and how to, use guns. And I would say hunting is a very good sport, and a good sport to raise your kids with. And we were very young when we started with bow and arrow and how to use guns. The best age is when they're young, because they learn how to be responsible. And we need more parents that can teach their kids to be responsible and never. And when it comes to weapons, how to be responsible, and that's how they grow and mature.
I agree, and with that, Cheryl, let me go ahead and bring on Paladin. Okay. I know there's some things you wanted to speak with him on, and he is ready to go. So, Paladin, welcome to the show, if you're out there. He unmuted, but I'm not hearing him.
I'm not hearing him either.
Let's give him a second. Something might be up with his mic. All right, Cheryl, you can continue on. He'll get that mic problem figured out, and he'll come in.
Maybe he's getting his tie on. I'm just joking.
You know those white hats.
The white hats are cool.
They got to be dressed for success.
I'm just curious if his suit is striped.
I don't know. When he gets in, we'll ask him. You told me something very interesting today, that you live. Tell everybody what you live by and what you think is going on over there.
What I live by?
Yes.
I'm trying to think. What was
or what you work by, or the Army base?
I'd rather keep that confidential. Yeah, I'd rather
keep that. Okay.
But I can discuss what I used to do.
That's perfectly fine.
I came to a big eye opening when I was working in the area where it was Homeland Security and Coast Guard territory. And anytime you come across any suspicious activity, you always do a report that would go to Homeland Security. So usually, since we would be involved with doing these reports, they would let us informed of who's running to Homeland Security and who would be in charge and all that. I wasn't too impressed when I seen Mueller. To me, he was sneaky. There was something on him I just never trust. Then when we got another letter reading, it was a person they brought in to work in the Homeland Security. And I'm like, wait a minute. What are they doing bringing these people into Homeland Security? I thought this is not right because look what's happening with Congress and with Omar and all of them. You just don't let people into our government. Really should not be here, because the reason and purpose here is not because they care for their freedom and they want to live like us. They're trying to force how they believe in living. And when you've read your Bible, you know what the Bible stands for, and you see everything that's in that Bible and see what's happening now. It's right, everything's happening right before your eyes, what we're seeing. And so when I seen some of these people, I said, any report that I do, that's just letting them know where they could conduct a terrorist attack. And I don't feel that I want to put anybody in jeopardy of doing any kind of report like that. I wanted out of that situation. I did not want to continue working in the area where I was, and I knew it was time to move on, and I knew it was time for people to be aware of their surroundings and what's going on. I think after Trump was elected, there were so many things we were seeing, and it was like, what's going to happen next? Well, what's going to be next? And you question when ISIS tried to say they're the ones involved with the shooting at Route 91. It's just not normal for threats like that to come through your Facebook page. Anything like that coming through like a news fed or anything, and then Homeland Security is not going to be involved to investigate. So there is definitely a serious problem there.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, trying to see if we can get Paladin back on here, see if we can actually hear him this time.
Test.
You are good to go. We hear you just fine.
Good.
How you doing, bro?
Good.
Excuse me. Good to have you back on. I know Miss Cheryl had some things she wanted to talk to you about and go over. So I'll introduce you to Miss Cheryl, and you guys can take it for a second.
Okay. First, when you reached out to me this afternoon and wanted me to come on, you didn't say KL was going to be here.
I can't tell anybody that.
Well, I want a raise. Okay. I want a raise if I have to put up with her too.
You better stop it right now.
Poor KL.
I had
Poor
to say
KL.
that. Yeah, poor KL. Anyway, okay, I'm here. I hate to even admit it, but my my headset has a mute button on my microphone, and I don't even know where it is. I mean, if you wanted me to mute my microphone on my headset, I wouldn't have any clue where it was. So I just started feeling around for it, and I must have hit that when I picked it up. So that's what the issue was. But I'm good to go now.
Cool. Miss Cheryl, you wanted him here. I got him here. Your turn.
Okay. It was interesting because we go back to when Trump and we were running against each other, and after Trump won, so many things going out there. People knew Hillary was thick with the Rothschilds. And what was interesting was something came up about that Jake Rothschild was killed in a plane wreck. Well, I don't know if it was just some kind of gossip somebody was stirring up or something, but recently they're sitting there talking and they're saying something about Jake Rothschild, and I thought, wait a minute, he's supposed to be dead from a plane crash. So it was weird how it wasn't just him, it was somebody else with a lot of power. They're saying that mysteriously died in a plane crash, and I thought, well, this second person, and then you find out it was all false. But with Hillary being so close with the Rothschilds, I did a reading. I looked them up, and this reading I had was Rothschilds were into devil worshiping. And so Hillary was supposed to be involved also into getting into that kind of worshiping and stuff. And I had read where when Rothschilds would have like parties at their home, they would have this table and chair and tell all their guests are not allowed to go near the table or chair or sit there because that was the devil's chair and the devil's table. And then back in the 70s, one of the Rothschilds was involved with the Star Wars. Do you remember that, Paladin?
No. You mean the movie series, the movies?
I think it was when the movie came out of Star Wars. And I don't know if he was like a director or what he was. But I had tried to find that picture of the guy involved, and his mother, who was the Rothschild, pulls a picture with him, and she was wearing this gold necklace with, and I'm like, oh wow, why would anybody wear something like that? So I started reading up about these people, and I'm thinking, oh, I mean, the stuff I was reading was enough to turn your stomach. Besides what their belief was, even though they're to be Jewish and that. But I just could not remember the name of the guy of which son he was with the Rothschild.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not familiar with that. I'm trying to find something right now. But I'm not familiar with that. That's the first time I've heard that they had anything to do with the movie.
Yeah, it was the son that was involved or something. And it was like back in the 70s. And And it's strange because now if you went to Google all this stuff, none of it pops up or occurs. You can't find a picture, nothing. It's so strange because it seems like Google's changing stuff rapidly on everything. Even if you look up Stephen Paddock, everything's changed.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
And it's a question, how come all this information that you could get about 4 years ago, you can't get it now. And it's just mysterious, very mysterious. But I do know that I think, what was it? No, it wasn't. Chelsea Clinton, she married one of George Cyrus' great nephew or nephew.
Yeah, I forget now. It's somebody connected. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because they're supposed to be very thick. And I know when Haiti had their earthquake and Clinton's had that foundation for Haiti.
Yeah.
A lot of the money, people were going down to Haiti to help these people, and they're questioning what were the Clintons doing? Where's this money going? And it was to help these people. And these people were not being helped. And the word got all across the United States that, hey, we need some people to go down there to help these people. Their schools aren't being rebuilt. Roads aren't being rebuilt. They're really, in a mess. And it's like, well, where did all that money go to with the foundation? And
well, it went where it always goes. In Bush's pocket, the Bush crime family's pocket. That's where it goes. That's where it always goes. If you remember, and not to get away from Haiti, because Haiti was about that, but it was also about the children too. They did some child trafficking there too, and they still may be doing it to this day. Do you remember after the tsunami in the Pacific? I don't even remember what year that was. It was around Christmas. Everybody remember that? Thailand or somewhere. It was, I don't recall the year. Everybody remember that?
I believe so.
Not the one that hit the nuclear power plant in Japan. Not that one. This was the big tsunami wave that hit Indonesia and the Thailand and the Philippines, and that was in I think the early 2000s. And anyway, Senior Bush and Clinton went around and they did their dog and pony show to try to raise money for that, and they got it all. They didn't give any money away. I mean, that's what they do. So that's not unusual. That every time something like that happens, they always get out in front for the charity. They always create some new fund that is specific to that disaster, and then they abscond with the money because there's nobody out there to hold them accountable.
It's sad. It's really sad because I know the church I was going to, they went down to Haiti. And a lot of them needed to go down there to realize how fortunate they are for what they have. And I thought it'd be a good experience for them. And they were overwhelmed when they went down there to what they seen. And it was a question it made them angry, thinking, how many people had donated all this money to Clinton's foundation, and then here, nothing's being done. And these churches are trying to do what they can to help these people down there. But it seemed like then when the election came against Hillary and Trump, or them running together, I noticed that there was a lot of bizarre stuff taking place. where I felt they were taking some of these children from Haiti, trafficking.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Just to clarify, that was December 26th of 2004, Paladin.
Okay, yeah, I thought it. I knew it was around Christmas, and it seemed like it was 10 or 12 or 15 years ago.
And I know somebody was seeing stuff that was going on where it was like into some private thing on the internet about devil worshiping and all this gross stuff. And I seen it and it was very upsetting, very disgusting. And they were saying that they felt this had something to do going back with Hillary. And I thought, well, that's interesting because you kept hearing that about her, that she was into that and with the Rothschilds, and that's why they were so thick and close. And it was like, it was just wondering. Then when the Las Vegas thing came up and they said it was like a blood sacrifice, right away I kept thinking of her. Something of her anger, that she can't control her anger, that she was angry for losing, and this is something she would want to happen. And who supports Anafia is George Cyrus. And she is so close with George Cyrus. So it's like everything seems to all come in a circle and all, come together. And it makes you wonder with Epstein's Island, what was going on there besides the trafficking and, sending all these young children and girls to the island. What were they doing there? What would they find on that island? Were they taking some of these people they were stealing or kidnapping and having sacrifices on that island, or what? It makes you wonder.
Yeah, do we want to go down this road? Oh, well, these people, I mean, I don't know where to start here. Hillary, let's start with Hillary. Hillary is I forget what it's called, but she's like the head witch. Now that's not the name, but of the satanic, whatever it's called. It's escaping me now. If I known we were going to talk about this, I'd have refreshed myself. But anyway, see, she supposedly, I think it's in California where they have their rituals. They have and it's, I guess it's like a church, but it's not a church. Now, I don't know if anybody, raise your hand if you've ever read anything or heard anybody talk about getting close to Hillary and she smells like sulfur. Has anybody heard that? Because I've talked to I've talked to two people that have been close to her, and they've, she just reeks.
That doesn't surprise me if that's what you're asking, but no, I didn't know that.
Well, no, I mean, there was, there's and not to take anything away from the person who was interviewed, but one of Bill Clinton's it was one of his ex-girlfriends, but I think at the time that she's relating this story, they were friends. And anyway, Alex Jones interviewed her. I've seen this interview, and it's probably still up there somewhere among his millions of interviews. But anyway, she described that the first time that she met Hillary, and her and Bill had a fling in college or in high school. And I think she was out. I think they were like college age or maybe later, like early 20s. And anyway, Bill went to her. They were in Arkansas, and Hillary was flying into town. And And Bill went to her and wanted her to drive him to the airport to pick up Hillary. So she did. And she talks about how bad Hillary stunk. I mean, she thought her car was going to be ruined. The interior of her car was going to be ruined, that Hillary smelled so bad. And so that interview's out there. Now, there was another person that I knew that I've told stories about, the Miramar Sheraton in Santa Monica, where Clinton stayed when he was president. And, you know, the stories about Barbara Streisand and the White House intern. And there was a few others that went, you know, that happened because one of the guys, well, a couple of guys that worked for me, I actually moonlighted there as security officer. So, you know, they'd always come back and say, oh, you know, Clinton's coming in town, because his Secret Service advance team would go out and coordinate with the securities at that hotel, because that's where Clinton stayed. I mean, the government guys, this hotel, and I don't know how many rooms they had, but they had a tower. You know, they had a tower building that was probably, I don't know, 10 or 12 stories high. And then they had bungalows in this courtyard that was surrounded by a 12-foot, 10-foot brick wall. And that's where those bungalows, which were like townhouses, basically, they were two bungalows backed up, you know, together. So there would be, you know, two bungalows there back to back. And of course, whenever Clinton came in town, that's where he stayed. He stayed in one of the bungalows, and he brought his entourage with him, and they rented the whole hotel. I mean, the government rented the whole hotel. Talk about wasting money. It was unbelievable. Anyway, so one time Hillary came, and so she, you know, they had a receiving line or something. Anyway, my buddy, long story short, my buddy got to, you know, shake hands with her or whatever, and he said he couldn't believe how much she stunk. Then not too long ago, a few months ago, I had somebody, I've been corresponding by email and I haven't responded lately. So if you're listening, I'll try to get back to you. But anyway, this person met Hillary. Hillary came, and Bill came, I think, to speak at one of their functions. And he, I think, had something to do with the function, and he seated Hillary or something. And he said she smelled like sulfur. So anyway, you know, those stories are, I mean, they're true. They're true. And you're talking about the election. Hillary is good friends with Lynn Forrester Rothschild, who is Evelyn Rothschild's wife. And Evelyn is one of the top Rothschild guys. He's probably, I don't know, I'm going to guess he's in his 70s, maybe his 80s. He's not as high up the chain as Nathan, but he's pretty close. And so they were good. She is good friends with Hillary, and they were touting Hillary. You know, she did a lot of fundraising for Hillary and did a lot of things with Hillary and for the campaign. And then, of course, the most recent stuff with Epstein. If you go, I found this on Wiki. I just couldn't believe it was there. But anyway, there is a connection with Epstein and Lynn. Interesting. It doesn't call her Lynn Forrester Rothschild. It just calls her Lynn Forrester, as if we don't know that she married Rothschild. Although at the time that Epstein was dealing with her, she was Lynn Forrester. She was not married to the Rothschild, I believe, at that time. But now she's Lynn Forrester Rothschild. So anyway, yes, there is a connection there. And let's just be honest. The whole thing, Epstein Island was a Mossad operation, Israeli intelligence. If you look at Epstein, you're going to find a lot of connections back to Israel. And they got people over there and they blackmailed them. I mean, it's plain and simple. That's what they do. Politicians, business people, whoever probably they could get. That's the short version.
Well, it's probably why Bill Clinton hadn't messed around with other women, because she smelled so much.
Well, let's be honest. Hillary goes both ways. I was told back in the early 90s, before Clinton became president, that there was a picture floating around out there, was the term, of Hillary in a hotel room with some underage girls in Arkansas. And I thought, well, you know, when she ran for Senate in whenever that was, 2000 or 2001, right before Bill got out of office, I thought that picture might surface, but it never did. And the Secret Service guys who worked with the security officers at the Miramar Sheraton told all kinds of stories about sneaking in females to Hillary at the White House. And they also used to sneak Bill out. They said they put him in the back of a van and covered him up, and they took him to some of his trice, not in the White House, were at the Mayflower Hotel, and that's where they used to take him. So yeah,
I did hear she was both ways. And then there was rumors going around about that Wiener's wife, that her and that was supposed to be her girlfriend or something like that. Was it Huma or whatever her name was?
yeah, Huma Abedin.
Yeah. Yeah, that's who it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty well known. I mean, I don't think Hillary and Bill, I mean, that's, I hate to say it, guys, but that's not unusual for a political couple to be messing around on the side, because the reason they're married is just, for our benefit, to give that facade that, everything's hunky-dory. They're a happily married couple, mom and apple pie and baseball and butterflies and all that stuff. And really, I mean, I've just told some stories about some of the things I used to do, but I mean, some of those marriages, some of those political marriages are marriages for convenience, so that they have a spouse. And this was, of course, back in the day. Nowadays, it's not as big of a deal. But if you were gay or you were a lesbian, it was always better for your public persona to be straight. So you had a husband or you had a wife, whatever the case may be, and that's just for appearances. That really wasn't your sexual preference. And Hollywood was the same way too.
I think with the Clintons, it's all about power and control. That's what they want, and with the money.
Yeah, no question about it. But they're pretty far down on the totem pole, really.
I just don't see really actually real love there with them two. I just see two people who are totally demonic.
Well, and I'm not trying to defend Bill. Bill sort of goes along for the ride. Hillary is the one who, I guess, wears the pants, so to speak, in the family. Hillary is in charge, and she has been in charge. That's one of the things that interview with Alex Jones, that girl said there, or lady said there, she said, Hillary was in charge. She told Bill what to do and all that. And she was probably the power behind the presidency in a way, in a sense then. And of course, when Paula Jones came out and, all those women came out about Bill's philandering, Hillary was the one that took care of all that. She's the one that attacked those women and, tried to kill their credibility and kill their reputation. So, people wouldn't believe it. But that's, I'm sure Bill and Hillary have an arrangement. There's no question in my mind they have an arrangement. They just go do their thing. I mean, can you imagine? Bill probably would have loved to have gotten back into the White House and all the perks he could have gotten with that.
I think what I really got a bang out of is the debate between Trump and Hillary. And Clinton didn't know they're bringing all these women who claim that Clinton sexually assaulted them. And here they show up sitting right there, right towards the front of the debate with Clinton, and they're showing Clinton's face expression, and he just sat there like I think he was in shock. He didn't expect them to pull that on him.
Well, and if you remember, that was because of that Billy Bush video that had been dropped a few days before that. Trump's famous line about, well, I won't say it, but you know what I'm talking about. And so I guess I heard this story. I forget who told it, but they say Bannon was the one who had the idea to bring all of Clinton's, the women who Clinton abused while he was president and before and after, and bring them to the debate and put them in the front row. So that was Bannon's idea to do that. But that was in response to that Billy Bush audio that came out a day or two before the debate.
I just could remember Clinton's face, and I thought it was so funny because it was just done on a surprise during that debate they're having on live with TV and that, and I thought he deserved it.
Yeah, well, and Clinton had a thing. I mean, the Secret Service guys told me, and he did this back when he was governor of Arkansas, but with the Arkansas state troopers who were his essentially bodyguards then. But they had, whenever a president travels, he has his own team that goes with him. He has his own team that basically goes with him everywhere. They handle all the arrangements there, the advanced team that goes set up everything ahead of time. And then whenever they were in LA, they would have supplemental Secret Service agents that would also help. But the main team would be the closest. As a matter of fact, as I described those bungalows that are back to back, and it's it's like a townhouse. It's got a first floor and a second floor. They would come in, the Secret Service would come in before Clinton got in town, and they would sweep that bungalow essentially to make sure there's no bugs there. And then they would put their own bugs in there. Okay. And then there where they would stay, their main headquarters, so to speak, would be the bungalow that would back up to the one that he was staying in. And that's where they'd have all the communications equipment and all the stuff. So, there was at one point in time that, they were talking when Clinton was president and all this stuff was coming out. They were talking when, I'm sure it was during the Lewinsky thing, where they were talking about, interviewing the Secret Service guys, because they would know, and they did know, because they used to tell our guys about all of this stuff that he used to do. But anyway, what they would do, how they would sneak the women in to see him, so not even the local Secret Service guys would know, is they'd have them on the perimeter, the guys who were local. And so one of the main team would go out and say, hey, go take a 15 or 20 minute break and I'll cover for you. So, the one guy would go have a sandwich or go get a cup of coffee or something. And then that's when they would sneak the girl in. So to keep it so that only Clinton's main team would know about the females that he was seeing. But, and I'm sure Hillary knew about it. I'm sure it was just an understanding. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you have to understand these people are completely different from normal people.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Their ethics and morals are off the chart. They don't have any, really.
No, not, that with what she's got a reputation of doing, and what what Rothschild's been known of, and it's overwhelming. It's just, people like that. It's where people need to be careful of who they're selecting in our country, because people like them aren't setting the morals and leaving a good impression for the American people. And that's why we get laughed at. Having people like them who's got that name and reputation. And people really, a lot of people hated Trump, but I think he's doing good for this country. And I think he's got a good team. I know I mentioned, like in the chat, if you knew Dan Scavino Jr., but he works closely with Trump. and he has his own page where people who are supporters, they can subscribe to his page, and he informs them what's going on behind the scenes and with the truth, because of all the fake news that goes out. And you won't get true news on watching the television or anything, but he makes sure people get out what's the truth is, what's going on, because ever since he's been elected, it seems like the left just wants to turn and twist everything around. And when you watch Trump live and then you go turn TV on, they got everything all turned around and twisted. But if it was the Clintons, if it was them, they wouldn't be doing it. And it just shows how much power and control and how they're trying to bring socialism into this country. Where they can't stand Trump because he's trying to bring our country back to buy what our fathers fought for, stand by the amendments in the Constitution. Where Bushes and Clintons and all them, they weren't for our people.
I agree with that, Cheryl. And, some in here have different opinions of Trump, and that's fine. He's not very public very popular, should I say, in the red flag area, but that's a different topic for a different show, I guess. I would like to, if you don't mind, I would like to push this a little towards Vegas and bring KO in. Can y'all believe it's 52 minutes and she hasn't said anything?
I can't.
We can go another 52 and I'll just sit here if that's what you prefer.
Oh no. We're just messing. Calm down, Lady Justice. Calm down.
You are not to tell me to calm down, TruthBomb. You really want to go down that path again?
Oh boy, you're fun.
Yeah.
All right, so Cheryl, if you don't mind, maybe touch on some of the topics you kind of discussed at the beginning, and if KO and Paladin have any questions, we can go from there. And then I do want to move on to some of the new Epstein things that we've seen this week. And
Cheryl, could I interject here for a second? Well, I'm just going to anyway. So you may want to research the connection between Hillary Clinton and Mother Teresa clinics, because less than a year ago, there was, and it's still ongoing, as a matter of fact, there were a lot of clinics that were being investigated, Mother Teresa clinics that were selling babies. And you know that Hillary and Mother Teresa, the attempts to work together started back in the 90s when I think Mother Teresa, she was a keynote speaker at the White House for something, I can't remember, but she had some issues with Hillary and her views on abortion. And so she had asked Hillary to come to India, I believe. And there was a lot of traveling back and forth, and she was pushing Hillary, Mother Teresa was pushing for Hillary to support a children's clinic, a mother and children's clinic for babies in DC. And Hillary did, they did set up this clinic, and Hillary was involved quite a bit in her international clinics. And then in 2018, there was an investigation that opened up for, because there was evidence of babies being sold for as low as $730. But the average was like $1,760 or like 50,000, was it rupees or whatever. So You know, all of these historical things when you're talking about the Clintons and then tied to the Rothschilds and then, you know, Epstein being involved, it's a little hard to turn your back on when there are so many different connections that lead down a very nasty path. So
I agree.
I just wanted to mention that to you in case you didn't know about it, that it's there are some interesting reads on that.
Was that someone's dog?
Yes, that's mine. I think he just wants to be on the show sometimes. That's all. He says hello.
So that was Mother Therese. Mother Therese, you said?
Mother Teresa, yeah, the clinics.
I'm going to have to check into that.
Yeah, you can Google Mother Teresa clinic selling babies. It should come right up.
Yeah, I know there was a lot of disturbing things that came up about with Clinton and that, something about sacrificing babies, and it was very upsetting. And somebody had gotten a printout that they found that was in some, it had to be like within a private group, and that was into that worshiping stuff, and the things they had, it was unbelievable. And it was stemming back something to do with the Clinton Foundation. It was like, oh wow, you know, I can't imagine this woman even being a grandmother. I mean, how could somebody, or being a mother, how could somebody even, you know, have their mind? You're supposed to look at a child as if they're your own child. And how can they, you know, their minds go that way? It makes you wonder. But there was a lot of disturbing things, and it was a question, why isn't something being done, investigated? And there was a whole lot of that were putting up a petition on wanting all that investigated. It was a very upsetting, some stuff was upsetting. Some people couldn't even read it. But when it comes to that Las Vegas, I do feel that was a blood sacrifice there. I think they involved Anafia and a couple other groups were involved with that situation.
I'm curious. I don't know if Paladin heard when you first came on, but I'm curious for you to fill in more, or if you can recall more, what you heard on the Luxor with the explosion behind the Luxor.
Yeah, that was one thing that bothers me. I know it was probably the day after the shooting happened, or a couple days after shooting, and it actually came up through YouTube. And they were shown like a picture of an explosion that was behind the Luxor. And I'm thinking, and all of a sudden that went down, never heard another word about it. And somebody had gotten it confused that it was a woman who seen wires coming out of a vehicle that they thought, you know, it was a bomb in there. But this was totally different. This was supposedly, they claim, an explosion that did destruction work behind the Luxor. And I thought, I'm just wondering if anybody from Vegas was around that area or seen behind that Luxor, if there was any damage, or was that false news, or why did it get dropped, or what was the story on that?
TruthBomb, do you remember the information on the Luxor from the beginning with any explosion behind it?
I do not. I remember a bomb being in a car, but I don't remember any actual explosion. Am I supposed to?
I actually do remember some information on an explosion or a video about. I didn't actually see a hole, and I think Cheryl, were you saying that you actually saw a video that there was a hole in
Yeah,
something behind the Luxor? Yeah, that's fascinating to me. I never saw that. I'd love to see that.
they were showing. Yeah, I don't know if they're showing from a helicopter or what, but it was in the daylight where they're showing that there was an explosion behind there, and they're going to have to fix it and do some construction work and stuff around there. And then all that got dropped. I mean, you never heard not another word, anything about it. And I thought, because they're saying he had that tannerite. And I'm thinking, well, could Patty use that on a Luxor? Because if there was shooting going on, I feel it was kind of coming from in between the Mandalay and the Luxor. That shooting was hitting people that were running out in front of the Mandalay building to escape. And then I came across something very interesting. And whose channel was it? I'm trying to think. I don't know if it was Manny's or Brian Shields, but it was when the SUV was going down the road and they were showing that green laser beam hitting it. Well, all the times I've seen that video, I probably could have seen that video umpteen times. All of a sudden, something caught my eye. And I thought, did I see what I seen? And I went back and I'm looking at it again. And it would be like kind of cross street, kitty corner from the SUV. I don't know if it's a white wall. It's kind of like a wide L shape or V shape, this wall. And you could see 3 people down on the ground wearing all black. And I thought, I never caught that or seen that before. And I thought, that's interesting. And then all of a sudden, Brian Shields puts up this video about this woman who sprained her ankle and was hurt, and the police didn't take a statement, and how she claimed she seen a man with a black mask and actually lift up a gun and shot a woman right next to her in the head. And then you think about 3 men on top of the pizzeria, all in black. So I thought, all this sounds like, these shooters that were involved were wearing all black with black masks. And I'm hoping that there will be more people that will come out and speak, because I think at first they're kind of scared, but I think they're probably getting angry, because if they witness something and they didn't take a statement and didn't take them seriously, I think I wouldn't be too happy, where I'd start wanting my voice heard.
Well, I mean, I still feel after almost 2 years now that, we all still want the answers, but are we going to get them? It's very likely. So the only thing we can hope is that we can try to stop the next one, or at least shed light on the next one. Now, I'm not saying that it can't still be broken. Don't get me wrong. But it's going to take somebody high up to come in and say, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know what I mean?
I've been hoping that Trump would have made some moves. A lot of people was wondering how come he didn't arrest Hillary? Why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that? But now when I'm sitting there thinking, I thought, I think I know what Trump's planning. I think I know what he's up to. And I think I think he's going to make it another term. And when he does, I think we're going to all be happy for some moves that are going to be made that needed to be made.
Well,
People finally want to be arrested and justice is going to be done.
Well, we could only hope, but that's still, if we get him back in office, which I truly believe we will. It's just, calling out these things like Paladin would know more about this, but the JFK files, he was going to release the JFK files, and then all of a sudden, I think we got some of them, but a bunch of them are redacted or whatever. I could see some of this stuff causing, it's going to piss people off if the truth of these things come out.
Well, I know the one group I was in with supporting Trump. I didn't know this. I was kind of surprised. But it was either Donald Jr. or it was Eric that John Kennedy Jr. was friends with. And I guess he had told Trump if he ever ran for president, he would want the seals open and he would want the files read of who killed his father. And he did release it to let them know who was involved, who really killed. And it just seems like when Trump was about to open that, that's when the Vegas shooting happened. And it was like everything he's getting ready to do, there's a distraction. To me, it's almost like a threat against the American people and Trump for anything he's going to reveal of who's been involved with any kind of wrongdoing or that they're going to cause some shootings or something to happen. And of course, many people now know it was George Sr. who was the shooter. George Sr. the Bush.
I don't know if he was the actual shooter, but he had something to do with it, in my opinion. But we won't go down the JFK road. We'll see what else they release. But that'd be a great starting point for them to start releasing some of this info to the public. Because that's so old that, and a lot of people are going to be like, well, we already knew that anyway. So, but that also, messes with the Bush crime family, as Paladin would say. Because there's still some of them alive.
Oh yeah, yep. I mean, they belong to that Bone and Skulls organization. To me, that's another, to me, worshiping thing. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it is. What do you think, Paladin, on that?
What's that? On what?
The Bones and Skulls.
Skull and Bones?
Or Bones, I'm saying it wrong.
Yeah, Skull and Bones.
The Skull and Bones, yeah.
Yeah.
To me, I think that's another, kind of like a, I don't know, witch but demonic worshiping that went on there.
Well, it's a secret society for sure. And there's a lot of stories about it. The Bushes, I think 3 generations of Bushes were Skull and Bonesmen, if I remember correctly. Prescott and then George Jr. So I think three generations. But I don't know. I don't have any direct knowledge, but there's a lot of information out there that Prescott Bush and some of his fellow bonesmen went out and dug up Geronimo's grave and brought the bones back. I don't know if that's true or not.
It was a long time ago, probably in the early 2000, when the History Station actually had that on about them belonging to that organization. And I think they did bring that up in there.
Well, and
that
they
they
also
dug up.
brought it up. Yeah, well, and that's the story. I don't know if it's true or not. I've read things that said no, that's not true, but they did actually go dig up some bones. And then I've seen other things that say, yeah, they did actually dig up Geronimo's bones, and I've read stuff where it says, well, they made him give them back, but I don't know. But seems like, if I'm not mistaken, John Kerry was a Skull and Bonesman too.
I think so, yeah. They brought his name. I could remember. They did bring his name up too. It was him involved. John Kerry.
Yeah, I mean, and they have, they have certain rituals. They say they put him in a casket, naked, and they have to basically tell their most embarrassing secrets so that everybody in the society, all the Skull and Bonesmen with them, will have something on them. They'll have blackmail material on them, but they do that with everybody. I mean, everybody has to do that. So everybody has blackmail material on everybody, which keeps them, supposedly together. I mean, these are all, I mean, they're not confirmed. I don't know. I'm not aware of any Skull and Bonesman who has disclosed some of this stuff, but obviously somebody has leaked it out, or it wouldn't be, out there in the public eye. And it's very, it's very secretive. I mean, they don't really talk about it. I can remember, I think Kerry and Junior were both asked about it during the presidential campaign, and they both said, well, it's a secret thing, we can't talk about it. And they didn't. Nobody pushed them on it.
I was really surprised that the History Station even had, and mentioning the Bushes being members to them, and that I was really shocked, because I think that's when George Jr. he was president then, and I'm pretty sure that may had been after 9/11 had happened. They were having it on the history and talking about it. Usually, they probably would put that stuff on there. But I just think with that Vegas deal that there's a lot new about it, what was going to come down, and they're just not speaking. They're not going to speak.
Well, Cheryl, if you would, I allow every guest that comes on these call-in shows like this to give us their opinion of what happened in Vegas. So if you don't mind, we
Sure.
would like to hear yours.
I think that Patty was involved with sound guns. So I came across something maybe a couple of weeks ago that receipt, I don't know who put the channel up. I should write that stuff down. But the receipt with the room 134, where there was an order for 2 people, that it was a Russian guy he had in that room that he was selling guns to. And I don't know if I believe David Steele. He sometimes puts stuff up. I don't know if I believe him or not, but he was trying to say that the guy dead in 135 was a Russian guy, a guy from Russia. It could be a possibility, but I just felt Paddock was running some guns, doing something. And I think they were going to set him up as patsy. I think he knew something was going to come down, and I think he ditched and got out of there as soon as he could. And if he felt that Russian guy looked like him, he used him. Because a lot of people seem to keep forgetting that on the door on 134, that was bolted locked from the inside of 134. I believe it was 940, around that time. So there's no way Patty could run back and forth from each room like Lombard will try to say. I don't feel a guy that age can do that. I don't know. I know for a fact I don't feel that 135 window was broken. I question yet about 134, but I'm starting to feel strongly that most of the shooters were on the ground. And that's where they're shooting the people, from ground level. And I keep thinking of, if you're facing that stage, there was somebody on that left side that was shooting, and there was somebody around the right side corner area shooting towards people, and where it was coming at different angles. They're in areas where they're coming at different angles at them.
Okay, with that being said, you said shooters were on the ground. So what do you feel about the machine gun sounds? Because if the machine guns were on the ground, somebody would have picked it up.
You know, that machine gun, I have a feeling, some reason I feel that was recorded. And I just felt that from the beginning, that the machine gun sound was recorded from somewhere. And with those, this one video, time that helicopter shoot out towards that opposite wing from where Paddock's suite was. Also, the sound of rapid gunfire would be real loud. And when helicopter back, didn't.
Hey, Cheryl, you're breaking up.
You're
breaking up on us.
Can you hear me now? How about now? Okay. But I noticed, like when I was watching the video where these people were having a party, I don't know if it was in the suite, like Paddock's, but they were on the opposite wing, and the one girl saying, "There's something going on down there. There's people running. Oh my God, there's people laying. It looks like there's people dead." And all of a sudden, it sounded like that rapid gunfire was just right there, right on top of them. And then they'll quit. And I mean, it sounded like as if it was right coming from that room. And they had to be right at the end, right where the helicopter swing out there and turn around, go back. So I do know there's something was going on dealing with those helicopters. And at first I thought maybe they're videotaping. And then I thought, no, because if they want videotape of what's going on, they're going to get it a videotape somehow, like how we're able to get videotapes of watching the concert, you know, the venue when everything went down. So I just feel it was a recording that was coming from that helicopter where they wanted it to sound like it was coming from the Mandalay Bay. And the room was too staged to me. I mean, that was just too staged. And I thought this was all just a setup here. And I'm just thinking all that sound was coming from the helicopter, a recorded sound. And they were doing it to draw the attention towards Mandalay Bay and wanted to sound like it was coming from Paddock's room.
So better yet, you're saying there were snipers on the ground, and then the sound was coming from the helicopters, or
Yeah, I think that was to distract and to make it sound like it was coming from the Mandalay Bay. And when that shooting would start, that's when a shooting on the ground would take place.
okay.
I think they're shooting, you know, and then they would stop shooting once that machine gun sound stopped. Because it seems obvious, as soon as those airplane or those helicopters were gone, that was it. You didn't hear no more rapid gun firing.
I think we might have lost her.
Am I still there?
Yeah, you're here.
And then one guy, I don't know what hotel he was staying at, where he could step out of his hotel, and he was filming a helicopter, and you could tell it was definitely shooting coming from that helicopter. So there was one helicopter that kind of went down towards the strip, and I felt the shooting people were hearing going down that strip, like the Bellagio and all that. I felt it was coming from that helicopter.
Well, I think those helicopters were up there doing something. I don't know what they were doing, but I don't think they were shooting. But that's just my opinion. Now, there was a point in time I did think that, but all right.
Well,
Go ahead.
I strongly feel that because of all the statements you heard from people who were calling in, and you know what you've seen on a video, yeah, like the pizzeria, there was definitely 3 men on top of that roof. There was another video where a woman said that she thought she'd seen in the parking lot across from the venue. And then when a pilot was taken off, he radioed in that there was 3 men on the runway carrying weapons. So it seemed like they were in threes. And then when I seen that video with the SUV with that green laser, it looked like 3 men there. So it seemed like they were traveling like in threes. And then I think a lady who left Delano, it was her friend's party or something, and she left Delano. She was in the Uber, and she seen 3 men who were armed walking and got scared and had a 911 call. And I questioned, did any of those 911 calls or reports ever come out?
I'm not sure. All right. Well, I want to, if you don't mind, I want to kind of switch this, and I do appreciate you coming on and telling us your opinion, and you're more than welcome to stay on, but I kind of want to move this towards the Epstein thing and talk about that for a little while. I'm not going to stay on too long tonight. So, with that being said, KO, you still out there?
Yep, I'm here.
You want to, or can you do me a favor and explain a little bit about the video you put out this morning and what you were seeing in that? Which, I mean, I know you did, but kind of with your own voice.
Sure. I don't know how many people actually saw the video I put out today, so I don't know if we could get maybe a show of hands in the audience. Can you play videos on here while we're...
I can, but I can't play the sound.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know that you'd need to play the sound, honestly, but anyway, people can go, or we can put the link in the video. But I took some clips from a channel of a YouTube name that is Rusty Shackelford. This is a person who has been diligent about recording drone footage of Little St. James Island since Epstein's arrest. And there's a lot of footage out there. It's really interesting. I strongly suggest everyone goes out there to watch some of it if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. I've seen his comments. He actually captured some of the FBI quote unquote raid, and there's other footage that he has, but he actually hasn't uploaded it just yet. So I think everyone should go and sub so they can see that. Apparently, he did get some shot or some video of being able to see in the quote temple that's on the island, where they are tearing things out of the temple or taking things out, and he gets a better view inside the temple. So I did put a link in my video on Lady Justice channel to the original video that I'm concentrating on. And you can obviously just follow that link and sub to Rusty, but he's been doing some great work. Very diligent and pretty ballsy, if you ask me, to go out there and have his drone flying around with all those FBI agents and NYPD on the island and taking shots. They actually, when he's out there with the drone, they see it and they cover the windows. So they cover it. They try and cover it with some cardboard at first, and then they put some black curtains up so you can't actually see in the window. And you can see on the table right inside, which I did start to think, wow, that's really convenient that we can see all the computer equipment wrapped in red shrink wrap right there in front of the window. But it's interesting nonetheless. So I was watching some of this footage from on Rusty's channel the evening of of Epstein's death, and I was I don't know what made me catch it, because it's really kind of hard to see, honestly, but it's dark. It's really, really dark, and there are some men that are on the dock, the dock that goes out into the bay in front of, where the where boats obviously come up to the island. And I can see someone walking with a flashlight on the dock, and then up in the upper right-hand corner of the video, as soon as I saw the men walking down the dock with the flashlight, excuse me, and Rusty had to adjust the drone a little bit, I could see up in the upper right-hand corner a man that stepped out of the shadows on the island, and it all just looked very suspicious to me. So I downloaded the video, and I was zooming in, and I just saw a few things that caught my eye. One thing that I will say that I didn't put in the video, but I did have a commenter. Actually, it was Shady J. And I got to tell you, Shady, those eyes of yours make me laugh because you could see something that I didn't put in the video that's very hard to see. But you couldn't see that I included the FBI raid video. Excuse me, the FBI raid video at the end of my video, because you added a link to the same footage I had already included. So I was just laughing at that because I'm like, wow, Shady. So, but she did catch that it looks like I'm sorry with these dogs of mine, they're so obnoxious, but she did catch that it looks like there's a man that's walking on the dock, and he looks like he has like it's definitely a suit jacket, and it's kind of a baggy type looking suit, but it definitely looks like he has a gun in his hand. So I don't know how closely you can play that, or if you can even slow it down. TruthBomb, I can see that you're playing the video, but I don't know if you can play that part where you can kind of slow it down.
When it gets to the part where you actually slow it down and zoom in, I'll stop it there. And because I've seen it, and guys, if you want to go watch these videos and you have a 4K TV, he is putting this stuff out in 4K. I mean, some of the pictures that come out of this thing is insane.
Oh, it's amazing. I couldn't download it because I couldn't transfer it into my software. So yeah, you can see it so clearly if you go to the original footage. I did blow it up and slow it down. So I think it's somewhat easier to see on mine because I could zoom in and slow it down as far as the people walking, but the clarity of his uploads are fantastic. Really great.
Yes, I watch them on my TV, and my wife came in today because there's no sound to it, so she was like, "That's extremely nice. What are you watching?" I'm like, it's not nice." But yes, it is very clear.
The island does look, I mean, it's a lovely island, and no doubt about that. I mean, I was doing some research on that. Yes.
Was this guy on a yacht using a drone, or where was he?
I don't know if he's on a yacht, but I'll say he's definitely on a boat. He's definitely on a boat.
Yes, and he spent a lot of time on that boat over the last, what would you say, 2 weeks? Week and a half?
Oh, he's been filming for a while. Heck, I want to say, I can't look right now, but it's been at least 3 weeks, I think, that he's been out there filming. I mean, he has captured a lot of interesting things. If you haven't watched these videos, you really need to. I mean, they have been doing construction work on this island. They've had, they're bringing in bags and bags and bags of concrete for some reason. This is all while he's been in jail, he is the one who got the footage, the view right inside that temple where I think there was a media outlet that had claimed that they had been on the island and that there was just a piano and some workout equipment in that temple, when you can actually see a plastic wrapped, bed that's right in front of the window. He's really got some excellent footage out there, and especially of the workers, I'm assuming the staff or the employees that are out there, and they have definitely been hard at work at what we're not sure, but you can see all the equipment and the materials that have been brought in. Definitely looks like construction work. He did buy Jeffrey Epstein bought Big St. James Island, which is right next door. He bought that in 2016 for $16 million. And he had been doing construction work on that island, even though there was a stop work order put into place in December of 2017. I believe he continued with construction on that island, even though I believe by the authorities or some government obstruction on being able to move forward or having a stop work order in place. But apparently that didn't matter to Mr. Epstein, however you say his name.
Well, I've got this video, not to interrupt you, but I've got this video paused where I thought I seen a gun in his hand. Now, again, this is way more clear on his side, and if you go and watch it, but as you can see here, I thought that was a gun too, and I'm like, what in the world is going on?
Yeah, there's actually, I mean, it's very quick. Even, I mean, this is slowed down to 25%. So even, my video was, you could even slow down my video. Now it will be, I don't know. I mean, I can't zoom into just YouTube videos when I play them. Maybe other people have that ability to do that, but I don't. So when I play it as slow as I can, there are actually 2 instances that I feel like you can see what looks like a weapon of some sort in this man's hand. But, the whatever he has on, and I believe, you can see 2 people for sure, but I think there might be a 3rd person there, and it was too hard to capture. Did you see? Let me see. We're gonna come back.
Well, when I slowed it down, when I slowed it down to 25%, it looks like the gun was actually swinging on his side.
Yeah, on the right side.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah. I mean, he definitely has something, but I'll tell you too, you can either, I mean, it looks like a suit jacket that kind of swings. I mean, he's got, kind of baggy, bulky pants. And when he's just walking though, he does kind of limp or walk. I don't know. It's a very, very interesting scene, but the fact that they're walking down this pitch black dock, at this time of night, and simultaneously, because you'll see a utility vehicle is actually parked right at the
Who's got the sound on?
I was gonna say, I don't know.
Cheryl, do you have sound on?
Okay. But if there's a utility vehicle that's actually parked right at the base of the dock there, you'll see it in a minute. You'll see the headlights that come on. It lights up the whole dock. So simultaneously, as that is occurring, this person steps out of the shadows up on that hill. And it's very eerie. I mean, it's just, if you think about the fact, the whole world knows that this man expired earlier in the day, or that's what we're to believe. Highly unlikely that there's any activity as far as work going on, on that island that night. So it was just pretty fascinating to me, and that's why I made the video.
Well, it was interesting, and maybe you can make some more of those if because I've seen some of that stuff today. I watched where they put they first started with Home Depot boxes, and then looks like they moved to sheets because they knew that drone was out there, and I kind of feel like they would be like, where the hell's this drone coming from? Somebody go find this and stop it. But it seems that they were just covering it up.
Right. Yeah, they're covering what's going on inside the home, whatever they're doing in there.
But do you think that? I mean, is it legal to take a drone and record the FBI while they're working? I mean, I don't know the answer to that question. So, and here's some video footage of the daytime of this island that I'll let this play, and it's a beautiful island.
Is it illegal to film them? That'd be a good question, I suppose, for Paladin. I mean, they don't own the airspace, so could he see some, could he have something on the footage that they would want to confiscate? Possibly, but you don't see anything that they're actually doing.
Well, if Paladin's still out there, I would
I
like
will
him.
say one thing with this footage, though, with the FBI, the footage that was actually filmed by it was a British newspaper that filmed it, and I thought it was incredibly intriguing that they are filmed diving, or using scuba equipment in the area. They're looking for something in the water, or they're searching the water for something immediately around the island, and I found that fascinating.
Well, I would have to believe that if there are underage girls here, and some of them are not going to talk, and whether it be girls or boys, some of them are going to talk, that other things besides, the most horrible thing you can do to a child, but at the same time, some of them could be gone also. Let's just use that word, gone.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they're looking for this in the water, or
Quite possibly. And they could be searching based on testimony and statements that they've already that they already have. But why are you there now?
Well, that was going to be a question that I was going to ask you and Paladin also, is why wasn't this done the day he was arrested? I mean, usually things like this happen. I mean, I know they probably did the New York $77 million penthouse. I'm sure they did that, but this is the topic of discussion. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that. I know that they definitely confiscated materials and took evidence out of the New York home. I want to say they did in the Palm Beach home as well, but I did not ever hear anything prior to yesterday about the island being searched.
I don't know. This whole story gets stranger and stranger. And I watched the guy on YouTube today. I don't know if I just came across him. I don't think anybody knows who he is. But he said there's some lawyers working down in Palm Beach that are trying to get this stuff released. Now, I don't know that to be true. Just what I've seen on this channel. But he said he feels like those lawyers are only hoping actually seeing some of this stuff, because there's some girl that came out 4 years ago. I can't remember her name, that he said
Virginia Roberts.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And apparently it was reported by the Daily Beast, and I guess this was during election time and nobody paid attention to it.
Well, she had filed 2 separate lawsuits, I believe, and one was in regards to Jeffrey Epstein. I believe the other one was against Ghislaine Maxwell. And those were the documents that were released the day prior to his passing, to his death. They were 2024 documents released on Friday that are in relation to her lawsuit. And they're very damning documents. A lot of information in there about Ghislaine Maxwell. And,
Did we lose you?
He's dead.
No, it seems we might have lost her.
Oh, can you not hear me?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay. I don't know what you heard me say last, but I was talking about the lawsuit where those documents were released.
Mhm.
Did you hear any of that?
Just a tad. You cut out for a minute, and then you went on mute.
Oh, okay. I was saying that those were the documents that were released last Friday, they were in regards to Virginia Roberts' lawsuit. There were 2024 documents that were released on Friday. A lot of damning evidence against Ghislaine Maxwell, and others were named in those documents, including Prince Andrew. And then I was saying that, then he's dead less than 24 hours later, or believed to be. And I will say, I've been paying attention to what Barr has been saying about this case, and the fact that there are still pushing for an investigation to occur here is, leads me to believe that that there was a death, but it certainly didn't happen in any way, shape, or form that we're being led to believe. Whatever it is that we're being led to believe, because they can't seem to figure that out, whether it was a suicide or cardiac arrest, or when did he die, and was he on suicide watch, was he not on suicide watch? I mean, it's the fact that we can't get the story straight just tells me that there's a lot of cover-up going on right now, and they're just trying to figure out exactly what story will sound the best, if you ask me. Is Paladin going to weigh in on any of this, or am I just going to sit here and yap?
We might have talked him to sleep.
What do you want me to say? What do you want to talk about?
Just weigh in. Let's hear your thoughts.
Well, we don't have. I hate it when we don't have all the information, and we don't have all the information. Hannity said the other night that the FBI went in there, quote unquote, weeks ago. And I don't know how far back Rusty Shackelford's videos go, but you would think that if they were out there and he was flying his drone over there, we would have gotten some videos of that, and I have not seen those, so I don't know about that. So if they were there, they should have gotten everything there was, and the only reason they would have gone back is because someone told them a different hiding place, or someone told them specifically where to go look. But it's very concerning that we know they went after he died, excuse me, because that means that if that's what changed his death, that's problematic, because that tells me they hadn't been there yet. And I can't believe that they hadn't been there yet, because when they arrested him, they should have gone. I mean, I know they went to his house in, I guess, New York, his mansion or whatever it is, because they talked about some of the things that they recovered out of the safe, and some of, another passport of a different country. And so they did recover some things from one particular place, and I don't know why they would not have hit New Mexico and Florida and Little St. James at the same time. So anyway, I don't know. It's just we just don't have enough information yet. That's all. I'm still watching it. We'll see what happens. I mean, Barr comes out initially and says he's appalled, and says he's going to continue, or he's going to do an investigation. He's got DOJ looking at it. He's got FBI looking at it. I heard today the warden got reassigned to another facility. I heard 2 guards got disciplined or fired or whatever. So I think we just have to watch and see what happens. Reality is, if they did their job and they knew what they were doing, they should have all the information. They should have had all the information when they arrested him. Because at the same time that you do the arrest warrant, if you have enough probable cause to do an arrest warrant, you're going to have enough probable cause to do a search warrant. A lot of times they do a search warrant before they have enough evidence to do an arrest warrant, believe it or not. In other words, a judge will sign off on a search warrant, and maybe there's not an arrest warrant, that's been executed, and so the initial search warrant is to go in and gather evidence. But of course, that's you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. Well, you have to do the probable cause stuff to get those search warrants. So at the very least, when they arrest somebody, if they've got enough to arrest them, they sure got enough to do a search when they go in and arrest them. And then you all hear about that. When somebody gets arrested, they do the search. They execute a search warrant too. So, given the nature of this case, you would expect them to serve a search warrant everywhere, not only in New York, but in Florida and in New Mexico and Little St. James Island and any other place that he had, that he owned real estate. If he had an office in New York and an office in Florida, you should go in there too. So I'm not, this thing with them, the FBI going to the island after he dies is the only thing that I can think of, given that I would think that they've already been there once, is that at some point in time, he gave them information, or somebody gave him information, new information that they didn't have before the first time they went there, as far as, where to go specifically look. And that's what it appears to me to be. I don't want to think that they're going out there trying to suppress evidence. I mean, that's that's always possible. But like I said, they should have gone out there and gotten the evidence when they arrested him a month ago. That's the part that I don't understand. So if they did that, this time they're going back because someone told them that there's another place to look, or they missed something, or whatever, or there's been new evidence that's come out, but that's coincidental to his death. So it's really hard to say. I mean, I'm one of those, let's just see what happens. I'm waiting for them to tell us what the autopsy says, although it sounds like now they're saying that he had a bed sheet, and that's how he hung himself. Didn't have a cellmate. They put him on suicide watch, and then his attorneys, I guess, talked him out of taking him off the suicide watch, which I don't understand that, because I'm not aware that they went to court and actually made that request through court. So it must have been an unofficial request to the warden, and the warden said okay. And then we are hearing that two of his attorneys have hired defense lawyers, and that's interesting. So there's just really not enough information, in my opinion, to make a determination at this point. There's a lot of strange things, but there's a lot of people that know what went down out there. So it's not like he's dead, and so now we're never going to find out, because there's been videotapes made. There have been people that have been there. There are plenty of witnesses. So it just depends on who wants to talk and who wants to tell the story. But it's out there. I mean, they don't need that. Just because he's dead doesn't stop this whole thing. But it is interesting, and I wasn't surprised to hear it. I will be very disappointed in Barr if there is something going on other than the way he is portraying this. And that is basically that we're still going to get all you people, which he should have that attitude anyway, whoever was involved with this. And there's going to be a boatload of people, believe me, involved with this. And then also that they're going to do an investigation to find out what happened. And I think those things are, if he's being honest and realistic and going to follow through with that, I think it's a good thing, because we should get something out of that. But in the meantime, there's this Maxwell she knows just as much as Epstein does, or maybe more. She was the one who, according to some of the depositions I was reading the other day on the released files, she was like the recruiter. She was the one that went out and got the girls. And they did go to Mar-a-Lago and get some girls that worked at the spa there in Mar-a-Lago. And I think that's maybe how they got that Virginia Roberts, who is married now, and she's got a different last name that starts with a G, and I can't ever pronounce it. But taking the bigger view, I mean, everybody, go do the research on Epstein. How did he get his money? Who was he associated with as he was going through the process of making his money? Because it looks to me like he was like an insider who became very successful overnight and kept being successful, meaning he kept making money. And by making money, that put him in certain circles, like around Trump and around all these other people. So he could, Prince Andrew and Clinton's and everybody else. So he could recruit those people to go to the island and have some fun. I mean, this is what they do. And his connections, there are so many connections to Israel. Mossad, I mean, I think he was a Mossad agent, and he was, he was there to get compromising information, blackmailing information on American politicians and British royalty and businessmen and whoever, would come. I mean, that's the way the game's played. So I'm not disheartened at all by his death, because that doesn't mean there's not enough proof out there, or they can't get enough proof to put these people away or to expose what's going on. And mainstream wise, I haven't seen it, but has anybody, talked about maybe video recordings for blackmail? Has anybody mentioned the Mossad? Have any of those kinds of things been mentioned? Has satanic rituals been mentioned by mainstream? I'm talking about. Anybody?
Not that I've seen.
Okay. Well, see, that's what's coming. I mean, that's what's there. That's what this is all about. So if Barr does what he says he's going to do, this should all come out. Eventually, it's going to come out. It should. Otherwise, then we got a problem. And so then Epstein, I mean, I don't see to anybody's benefit keeping Epstein alive. If they kept Epstein alive, then that would mean that, they've got him in some witness protection, or, the other side is some people are saying they, got him out of there and sent him to Israel, or he can live out the rest of his days protected. And of course, if he was in the witness protection program, he would be protected also. But I just don't see the need for him. He doesn't make the case, I guess is what I'm saying. There should be loads of evidence available, both, electronic evidence and also human evidence that can testify to what happened out there. I mean, that Maxwell has to know everything that he knew, but she was with him all the time. I mean, this Virginia is talking about having 3-ways with Maxwell and Epstein. That was like part of the deal. And then, she would go spend 2 weeks at a time out of the month. Every month she spent 2 weeks out of the 4 at either his mansion in Palm Beach, I think it was, or at Little St. James Island. I think she went to New Mexico 2 or 3 times maybe and spent some time there. But when she did, she would go for a week or 2, and then she'd be off for a week or 2. And they were constantly recruiting other girls. They would go to legal massage places. They would go to spas, and that's how they got them. And she didn't have any experience as a masseuse. So, to me, we just got to wait and see. That's all. I know that people don't like to do that. They want to rush to conclusions or figure it out. But I just think it's too early yet to determine that.
Do you think Barr will release that information?
Well, if he's going to prosecute people, he's going to have to, and I would think he would. And it's going to be interesting to see what, how that all shakes out. What was because we hear he's supposed to be on suicide watch, then he wasn't. And I don't understand why they took him off suicide watch, because, this gets me to thinking about the first incident, where he had to go to the hospital and he had a problem around his neck. I mean, did somebody do that to him, or did he self-inflict that? Because if he self-inflicted it, then there should be no way he was taken off suicide watch. I don't care what his attorney said. But, the thing that intrigues me the most is if that's true, that his attorneys actually went out and hired criminal attorneys, then that means they think they're going to be charged with a crime.
That very well could be true.
Yeah. So my question is, what's the crime?
I mean, to be associated with this guy and him being a billionaire, they had to know something.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, you would really think so. And, there's a list out there of all the people of his notebook. I mean, that got released quite a few years ago, of his notebook and all these names and addresses and notes and everything. I mean, it might be time to go back now and take another look at that stuff. I used to have it somewhere. I don't know if I've still got it. And see if there's any. I mean, there are obviously a lot of familiar names, but after hearing some of the story now and getting more information, there may be something in there that might be relevant. But you got to believe they've been going through this for a while. I mean, this is not rocket science. This guy was taking people to his places. I don't know if he videotaped other places. That whole little St. James Island. I mean, that whole thing's got an underground. All kinds of underground stuff there. I mean, there's this one building where looks like there's 6 vent pipes, and you can't tell what's inside that building, but I think it's probably an air circulation system. And in these Rusty Shackelford videos, you can see, I don't know, KL, how many entrances? 2 or 3 entrances that are in the side of a hill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
they're actually all over that island. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I'm sure that underground system connects everything. It connects to that temple, that building that looked like a temple at the south, all the way up to his, I assume, which is where he stayed up in the north part of that island. I bet there's tunnels through that whole thing.
Yeah, I think the majority of the island actually is underground. That's what I think. The main part of the the structures have, there you can see that they're built into, even the main house.
Yeah.
Is all that hill on the back is actually part of the house. I mean,
yeah, it's all connected. Yeah, I mean, it's a whole underground system. There's tunnels all over the place there. And that because and I think Rusty knows that too, because there are more than one video where he concentrates on that building. And if you look at that building, there are 6 big pipes that come out of the ground, and those are air. That's for air. Okay. And I think that whole area there's a big building there that's sort of built into the side of the hill, or whatever you want to call it. And there's some other things there that I don't know. They look like gas pumps, but they're not gas pumps. And I don't know what those are, but I do know that those big pipes, and they are big pipes. That's ventilation for underground stuff. And I don't know if that's the only location on the whole island where that is. It's possible, I suppose. I don't know that much about how you ventilate those places, but I do know that's a ventilation station. That's an air circulation station there, because those vents are there, and there's 6, and they're big. They're big around, and they're they come up out of the ground and then they curve. There's an elbow on them, and so that's so nothing falls into those pipes. And I'm really surprised that they're out in the open. Usually those are hidden, like in trees or something, so you can't see them, because that's always your first clue there's something underground. And to have those kind of pipes there, it's major.
Major as in large.
Yeah, major isn't big. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. And I'm sure that's what's in that building. That building's built into the side of that hill, and they've got stuff stacked on top on the roof there that you can just it's level with the ground up on top.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure that is the air purification system for it, maybe the whole thing, or maybe just that end of the island. I'm not sure, because I haven't seen all of the videos, and I haven't seen those. But you can hide those pretty well. I mean, that's how you can always tell, about underground places. They have to have an air system. There has to be air, and they have to circulate that air. So there's always a vent somewhere above ground, and the opening of the vent does not face the sky, because you can throw things down in there and it can get clogged up. So anytime that you see a pipe that comes up and then curls back, like it has an elbow, where the hole in the pipe is facing the ground, that's an air intake, is what it is. So anyway, there's some, there's no doubt in my mind there's been some satanic rituals. There's been all kinds of stuff going on at that island, and it's set up for cameras, and it's set up for recording devices, because that's the way the game's played.
Why do you think, Paladin or KL, why do you think that it was a prison guard? Wouldn't you think he was he'd already tried to commit suicide? Wouldn't you think they'd have the FBI agents on him or someone higher than just prison guards?
Well, I don't know I don't know the details. I mean, they have solitary, they have certain wings in those prisons or those jails, and it was a jail, I understand, which are not sometimes set up like a prison. I mean, prison has different, areas for different prisoners. A lot of them do, some of them don't. And that was a jail. So a jail it's going to have, excuse me, solitary confinement in some places like that. I mean, they said that's where they held Manafort, and that's also like they say, I don't know if it's true, that El Chapo's two doors down from that cell. But I go back to the suicide thing. I mean, they just take everything away from you. A lot of times those guys, I mean, sometimes they're naked. They don't have anything. So if he tried to commit suicide, and see, we don't know the full story, I don't think, of the first incident, whatever that was. I mean, they talk about marks on his neck, but they really don't say too much about it, too much else. Did he try to kill himself there, or did somebody try to get to him? Either way, he should have been monitored a lot better than what he was. I mean, because I don't know how long it would take him to tie up I don't know why he's got a bed sheet in the first place. That's the interesting part. I mean, that's the suicide part, the suicide watch, and then getting him taken off a suicide watch, and then he supposedly kills himself. But again, we got to wait to see what the investigation shows and what the autopsy says.
Nini is saying this is where El Chapo was also held. Now, I think I've heard KL say that also.
Yeah, he was. He's not there anymore, but he was.
Yeah, he was supposedly held in the cell 2 doors down, and supposedly Manafort was held in that same area when he was there.
Correct.
Manafort's been sent, obviously he's in prison now, but see, jails, handle anything. Typically a jail handles anything less than a year. Anything over a year, you go to prison, either the state prison or the federal penitentiary. So the jail facilities are not as permanently, or they're not as permanent as what a prison would be, but they still have certain areas where they can, put them in protective custody or suicide watch or whatever. I mean, they've got it set up that way. So there's no way that this should have happened.
Well, there's no way that it should have happened in a perfect world. There's no way it should have happened, but.
Well, I'm saying it. There's no way. I mean, I would be more forgiving, I guess, if whatever happened to him the first time, was the end, right? But
yes,
now you have an incident, and he survives that incident. You don't take any chances, for another incident to happen, whether somebody attacked him or whether he tried it himself, is what I'm saying.
I agree with that.
And that's problematic. That's really problematic. There's definitely a problem with that. Definitely a problem. No matter what happened, whether somebody got in there and got to him, or, he did it himself, or, the other alternative, I guess, is this is all a, hoax, and he got out. He got out and went somewhere.
Yeah, or there's the alternative of, maybe that he wasn't worth protecting.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and Barr, I guess if that was the case and Barr knew it and he was in on it, he wouldn't come out so strong and be blown off. You know what I mean? He would just kind of be quiet and kind of go about doing his thing. And yeah, we're going to look into it. I mean, he wouldn't be as adamant about getting to the bottom of it as he seems like he is, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. We just, like you said, we don't know. But I do think that, I do wonder if they had what they needed. I mean, if in my perfect world anyway, I guess, if they had what they needed and they knew, or somebody knew that, a court, a trial would not go the way you would expect it to go based on the corruption that we all know exists in this world, then maybe just turning a blind eye to what could happen to him in prison wasn't such a bad thing after all. I don't know. I mean, all of the above are possibilities, but the fact of the matter is, they are still pursuing an investigation. I am concerned about the fact that they don't go out there until, of over a month after he's arrested, 2 days after he dies. I don't remember seeing anything in any article, and I read a lot of them, not to say it wasn't out there, but I don't remember any article mentioning the fact when he was arrested that they had searched anything on that island, that they had went to the island and searched anything. I don't remember that being in any publication whatsoever, any court document, nothing. So, that is a concern to me, that they would now rush out there 2 days after he dies and, and then take into consideration what we see in the video from Rusty with the people on the boat dock with the flashlight, the man up on the hill. I don't know what that was all about. Do I think it's Epstein or Epstein? No, I don't think it's him. But I do think it has something to do with the fact that he died that morning. Who it could have been, I don't know. And will it ever pan out? We don't know. But the hope here is that, there will be something coming from this. I came across, what was that called? I sent it to both you and TruthBomb. What was that? Operation Broken Heart. With Department of Justice put out a press release, and there was this concerted effort in, I want to say in the months of April and May, or May and June of this year, in regards to, this huge crackdown on child trafficking and child pornography and that. And there were, I want to say 1,700 arrests. I'd like to think that there is a concerted effort on cracking down on this sickness. It's obviously a problem. There's obviously corruption in our government. Say whatever you want, make it seem ridiculous that some of these things are, talked about, whether it's, from a religious perspective or satanic rituals or whatever. The fact is that this information has been floating around out there for years, and there seems to be, this nasty web of prominent power for people that are involved. And my hope is that we are in a time in this world where, these people are going to start to be exposed. And there is a lot of exposure here right now. The fact that mainstream media is talking about this at all. And one thing that I have noticed, if you go out there and you start reading the articles in mainstream media, and the one thing that they try and push, they try and shove down your throat, is that Jeffrey Epstein was a friend of Trump's, former friend of Trump, friend of Trump, friend of Trump. Well, that indicates to me that there is still this, this attack happening on the administration and our president. And, and that probably sounds warped in a way, but it gives me hope that, there is, that there are things at work here that we don't know about. And we need to give it, we need to give that an opportunity to come to light.
And on that 1,700 people being arrested, you're not going to see that on mainstream news.
No, you didn't.
That's not what they want to show you for some reason. You think that would be great news to everyone, but that's not just some made up number. That's from the justice.gov. You can go look it up yourself.
Yep, there's a press release out there.
And if there was anything on Trump, it would have come out a long time ago. You know, and it's been pretty well documented that Trump kicked Epstein out of there in 2003 or 4 or something because he was abusing an underage girl, and from those depositions, I believe that Maxwell recruited that Virginia Roberts out of there in 2000 or 2001, I think. So that was going on back then. And there is never any mention. Matter of fact, I think one of the attorneys asked that Virginia Roberts if she ever saw Trump, was ever Trump there, do you know Trump or whatever? And she said no to all those questions.
Well, as a matter of fact, previous attorneys that worked on the 2008, 2007, 2008 case, you know, came out and said that, you know, Trump, out of all of the prominent people that were contacted in regards to the 2007, 2008 case for Epstein, that he was the only one who called him back, who gave, you know, who was proactive about helping in the case. Trump was the only one.
Yeah.
And, you know, that says, and that's coming straight from the attorneys that were involved on the case. Epstein's own brother, even though it's been twisted in the media, had said that on several different occasions that as far as he knew, that Trump only flew once on the plane. He'd never been to the island. And it was either to go to or from New York. They were going to the same location, from the same location, and he'd only been on the plane once.
Very interesting stuff. Well, does anyone else have anything else they want to talk about? Anyone? Paladin, Kale, Cheryl? Cheryl, you want to add on anything that's been said?
I kind of feel that, you know, I know in prisons they don't like pedophiles. And a lot of times prisoners will go after a pedophile. So it's a question, you know, was it prisoners wanted to get him, Epstein, and kill him because of him being a pedophile? It raises questions on that. I mean, there's a lot of things that don't make sense. Looking at his face, I thought it looked like he was beaten. Like he had bruises or something. And I don't know if that was cuts or what that was by his ears. It just looked like, it makes you wonder what his arms, his legs, did somebody beat the living heck out of him, you know? It makes, I have to question that because of knowing how they don't like pedophiles in any prison or jail cell. And I'm just wondering what you guys think on that.
Well, I mean, it's known that, you know, pedophiles go to prison, I'd love to know what's going on with Jared from Subway. That'd be kind of interesting.
Well, you know, that's when they get to prison and they're in the general population, and I don't think that was the case with Epstein. Now, the way those things would happen in this kind of a situation, although I'd just be very surprised given Epstein's high profile. You know, you pay off a guard. That's how you do it. That's how you get it done. If there's any funny business that goes on, you have to deal with the guards. So that's how you go. That's how you accomplish that. So anyway, and I don't know. I mean, I suppose everybody's got their price. So that's a possibility. But, you know, if they get down to, I mean, there were guards on duty. There's, you know, it's a limited amount of people who were there. When was he last checked? I mean, from what they're saying, he's supposed to be checked every 30 minutes, and it sounds like he wasn't. So there's going to be some people that are going to have to answer for it. And, you know, if if one of the guards took a 5 or 10 spot or whatever to, go take a walk at some point, then that could have happened. Somebody could have slipped in and done it to him. So I don't know.
I've got a question up on the screen for you, Paladin, that was asked direct to you.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I was just curious to your opinion on it. All right, well, anybody else got anything? Paladin, you?
No, I'm just watching all this, taking all this stuff in. I think it's very interesting to, but again, this is a situation where nothing adds up, nothing makes sense to this whole thing. Again, this is almost like a mini Vegas at this point, because why is the FBI going to the island the day after he's killed? Why is he killed after he already either tried to kill himself or or somebody tried to get to him? Why wasn't he in? It's just that everywhere you look on this thing, it's not right. Something is not right.
I agree. KO, you got anything else?
I don't know how long you guys want to be on here, how long we want to concentrate on this, but I don't know how much Paladin you'd want to go into this or talk about it, but I feel like, touching on how he, how the history of how he did build some of his quote empire, and how he accessed, or how it appears he accessed some of that money, I think is worthy of mentioning or having a little bit of a conversation about. You want to go down that road with me, Paladin?
Sure, I guess.
Well, I would say that.
I think so. I'm going down that road. I'm going down that road because nobody else is. And that's always where I look. It's like, and I've always thought, how did he get all this money? How did he get all this money? You look at that island and the upkeep. What do you think the maintenance is? If he never goes there ever, what would it cost to keep that thing going? In addition to what he paid for it. And then he's got this 800-acre ranch or whatever the heck it is in New Mexico, and he's got this mansion in Palm Beach. Then he's got something in New York. We're talking about at least 4 residences here. So you're talking, I would think, multi-million dollars a year just to keep him going, just to pay property taxes, to pay insurance, to pay people to mow the yards. And, come on, there's a whole bunch of money here. And, you go back and you look at his history, and I forget, I read what his parents were supposed to be, but it's not like he comes from some financial family, and where he comes from wealth, where he's got somebody to back him out of the gate. But wasn't he into music or something? He did music, I thought.
I believe his brother is very heavily involved in music and the arts in New York. His dad, I want to say, I don't know why I want to say he worked for something to do with the library, or maybe even the post office or something. Just just middle class income, from what I understand. Nothing, not poverty, but definitely not, incredible vast wealth. But and I've seen some comments in the chat about how he was hired on at one of the colleges, at a college or a university that he worked at, and that he was hired by none other than Barr's father, who was headmaster at the time. And I don't really know a lot about that. I do think that, obviously there was something, there was some sort of connection for him there. I don't know why that started to play all by itself. But there was some sort of connection there for him, because he had no degree. There was the education that you would expect was not there for him to gain employment at this college or this university. But I wanted to, go more down the road of his time as in finance at Bear Stearns, and then the ties to his trusts and the Oklahoma lottery winnings. I don't know who all knows about that or has the details on that, but that is really, you really want to talk about, like kind of looking at the corruption that this man, was definitely tied to over the years, and the fact that he seemed to be directly involved in the housing market, the crisis in 2007, amidst all the Ponzi schemes and the overinflated rates and the subprime mortgage market and the downfall of the housing crisis. And then you tie that into just a year later, the glitches that occurred on two lottery drawings that happened to be one in Oklahoma, and his trust was tied to at least one, I think maybe both of these lottery winnings, where at least one of the winning, the Powerball was deposited into a trust that's run by him, which was in the amount of $29.1 million. And there were 3 total lottery winners in Oklahoma by the year 2008. They didn't even start participating in the lottery and the Powerball until January of 2006. What are the odds on that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, I was just making sure my computer turned off. So the historical involvement of this guy, and the amount of money. I mean, who bailed out Bear Stearns, and the banks that were involved in the housing market crash. It was the feds. I mean, so if you think about how much money this guy, seemed to scam, from, let's face it, I mean, ultimately the American people, we are the ones paying for that. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really think about that, I mean, obviously, it's disgusting, all of the, the child trafficking and the, everything that's tied to that. It's, it's just, I mean, to imagine, the amount of evil that was, cased in one person with all of this, it just, I don't know. I mean, makes your skin crawl. And the fact that he was able to, whatever you want to believe, why ever he was in these circles, whatever it was that, they got him involved with all of these politicians and, I mean, let's talk about Lex Wexner. Is it Les or Les? Yeah, Les Wexner, the owner of Victoria's Secret and Limited and all that, who, he handed his New York mansion over to this man for $1. $1. What do you think he could have had on him for $1? I mean, the amount of corruption that just encased in one person is appalling to me.
Mm-hmm.
And he's gotten away with it all these years. So, I mean, in reality, if he is dead, I'm not too unhappy about it, to be honest with you.
And again, that's a $77 million condo or whatever it is in New York.
Yeah, that he got for $1. He stayed in there was a State Department apartment that he leased for years. I started really reading up on all of this stuff when he was arrested. So I don't have all of this in my brain, but there's just a lot of information, a lot of ties to this guy that, I mean, the passport that he had that was not even in his own name, that they found in his safe, you know, he got away with these things. I mean, there's a reason why he got away with these things. And we're talking about someone who was truly put in a position of power, but was he the one who was placed, who put himself in this position? I highly doubt it. There are, incredibly large powers that be here, and everybody kind of points their fingers at the Clintons too, and not that they're not involved, but I was kind of thinking about this the other day, and I just think, it's all, we know about it, we know about the ties, we know about the, the logs, we know that, that he had these financial dealings. We know he was on their board of directors for their foundation. We know that, Clinton flew on the plane 26 times or something like that. And it's almost like we're supposed to know that. I mean, to me, it's like, if we needed a big fish to take a fall here to satisfy, Americans' curiosity and kind of solve the mystery of where this corruption is and why this guy knew people. And, wouldn't the Clintons be the perfect bow on the package to kind of wrap it all up and, just shove it to the side because people might be, satisfied. Okay, we got the Clintons, they're going down for this. And that's kind of where my brain goes, okay, that's just too easy for me. That's too easy. So if that's the case and we can wrap this up with a nice Clinton bow, then, who really belongs in the box,
Well, I don't know. I don't know how you would. I don't know how you pick one apple from the tree without getting them all. I don't see how that's possible.
I know what you're saying, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, all this focus on the Clintons, when, I mean, obviously they were
Wait. Well, what do you, who's focused?
just American, I mean, if we're looking at the articles that, that are finally being written out there, or even, alt media personalities and, YouTube channels or, alt media, sources, that a lot of fingers pointed at the Clintons, very rarely, and you really have to dig for those, other names that, that are probably involved, and even the ones that we don't even know the names of, the really, the high powered people that, you might not even know their names if you heard them, which we all know exist, or we should know exist. People should know that, there are really big people involved in corruption, and you could hear their name every day and not even know it because you just don't even know who these people are. I mean, wouldn't you agree with that?
Well, yeah, but so what are you saying? Are you saying that they're going to get the Clintons and nobody else, and that's going to satisfy everybody?
I think that would be a big win for people. I think that would be
okay.
in their minds.
Well, all right, but do you really think that Hillary Clinton is going to go down and not take everybody that she can with her? You think she's going to keep her mouth shut?
No, I think if that happens and Hillary Clinton goes down, well, first of all, okay, if we're moving in the direction that I feel like we could be moving in, the people that would be moving things in that direction already know the names involved, the big players involved. That's my belief. Okay.
Oh, there's no question about that. I mean, you're talking about the royal family. You're talking about Prince Andrew. Well, believe me, they are several notches above the Clintons in the, in the food chain.
And what's the Asian family? Oh boy, I'm gonna table that for a minute because there's another family that I've noticed that there are constant ties to, but I'm gonna table that for right now. I'll bring it up in a second.
But no, I'm not saying that she would not. I think that honestly, that Hillary might be in a position of being Arkancited herself if this is the way it goes down. But I do feel like that there has been so much, there's been so much concentration on the Clintons that, from an overall perspective of, from the American people, that people, could look at that and be satisfied. I'm not saying that that's what would occur. I'm saying that that's what, it's too easy to just concentrate on the Clintons and think that that's our apple pie in the sky, catch here. I think that, we need to realize how big this corruption really is,
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, we will if this comes out. If it doesn't, I mean, this is this is really similar to the FISA court thing, where they go to the FISA court and they tell a bunch of lies and they get the judge to sign off on it so they can spy on Trump, so they can get something on him, so they can get him out of the president, out as the president, out of the White House, right? So this operation that was going on down on Little St. James was the same kind of thing, only it was a forward-looking thing where they had it all set up and they brought people down there and they got them on tape, and then they kept that tape. And if you get out of line or you're not doing what they want you to do, then they show you that tape and say, okay. I mean, look, if anybody saw Godfather 2, and I've said this before, this is right out of, I mean, this is the way, this is that scene where they compromised that Nevada senator was reality. That's the way they do it. Only this operation was more sophisticated. This was set up probably, I think that was probably set up for that specific purpose. I would not be surprised.
The island?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree with that. There's no doubt about it.
For a bunch of reasons, remoteness
Mhm.
being one. I mean, there is nobody around. I mean, nobody around to even see what's going on, So I think that's what that whole thing was set up for. I mean, it was an operation.
Agree.
So yeah, and I think you're right. I mean, there's going to be so many people that are above Clinton's pay grade. It's not even going to be funny, Some people we'll know of, some people we won't know. Wasn't it Nancy Pelosi's daughter that said something about, I bet we'll, hope, she made some comment about knowing that some of the people involved were going to be on their side or something like that. I forget what her tweet was. Yeah.
Our faves.
There you go.
Some of our faves.
Right. And they all know that. I mean, see, this is common knowledge with these people, what's going on. And I don't know whether they know they're being taped or not. They probably would never know. As long as they toe the party line and do what they're supposed to do, they would probably never know, because they would never need to be reminded that they have this information and they could be blackmailed. So I don't know, it's hard to say how many people know, but that's what that's all about. I mean, that whole island is set up for that.
Agree. And they were going to make a bigger there was a bigger operation at play here when he bought Big St. James Island.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah. Great St. James, I think is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Big brother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they were going to turn this into a massive operation.
I really strongly suggest that people do some research on the Baron Stern's involvement with Epstein, and the trust that received the payments for the lottery winnings in Oklahoma, and the glitches why they couldn't play the lottery numbers or do the drawing right before the news like they do. They 2 times that they couldn't do this because they had glitches. Imagine that.
Yeah, I see Marie D's question. It says about why Acosta was told to back off. I mean, I think they said Intel or something. They used a generalization or at least that's what's been reported, and that's because he was Mossad. So somebody said, he's an intelligence guy. We use him for intelligence or whatever, so go easy on him. And so if that's what the deal is, that's why they did it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all they needed to say. They're not going to say any more than that. They're basically just going to say this guy's protected in what he's doing or whatever. So just play it cool and, do it on the sly and don't talk about it, and everything will be fine. And that's probably what happened.
Yep.
But to me, if that, where I think I saw that on Wikipedia, if that article is accurate, it says it sounds like Lynn Forrester is the one who introduced Epstein to Trump, or to Clinton, when Clinton was president. And of course, Lynn Forrester is actually married to Evelyn Rothschild at this point, and that's the connection that goes way high. So, did they want to compromise the Clintons? Maybe. I mean, the Clintons probably are compromised, and Bill would probably not have any problem with that. I hate to say. I mean, he'd go along with it knowingly, I think is what I'm saying. But you're talking about the royal family, and I think there was mention. I don't recall, but reading some of the documents, there was mention of some other high up people, very important people from other countries. So I think this probably wasn't just U.S. people. I think this was probably had a wider range than just that.
I'd agree.
So there's a lot of, so that means that there's a lot of people with, so-called skin in the game. And they're going to want to see all these problems go away. I mean, there's a lot of people that are going to have the same interests, which is going to be a pretty powerful group, one way or the other.
Very interesting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this goes way beyond just the surface thing of some guys, and I'm not downplaying at all. I'm just saying that it's a lot more serious than some, old men, chasing after underage girls. I mean, it's deeper than that, much, much, much deeper.
Well, there's a money side to this trafficking thing also, I would suspect, right?
Well, there is in the networking, yeah, but I don't know. I would not consider this trafficking as much as I would blackmail.
Yeah, and you got to think there's something out there with we're getting a terrible storm here. Sorry. If I lose everyone, I'm sorry. But yeah, if you got to think they found something on somebody.
Yeah, I've been trying to think about, I would be very surprised if any of the damaging information that they obtained at the island would still be there. I would almost assure you it's not. Now, equipment could be there for sure. The devices, the electronics, all that stuff, that evidence I think would be there, but I'm not so sure that any of the evidence regarding, videotapes and audio tapes or anything like that, I'm not sure any of that stuff would be there.
Right. But it was kind of sudden when they arrested him. Do you think he knew it was coming? I mean, I'm sure somebody probably warned him, right?
I don't know. That one is I don't know. That's an interesting one. I don't know, because I haven't looked into that part. It's just that this whole thing, I mean, his whole thing was about blackmailing people. I mean, that's what it's all about. And nobody's talking about that yet. I mean, not as far as in the mainstream media. Nobody's talking about what that means. And I think that it wasn't Epstein who was doing the blackmailing. Okay. Epstein was just the host. He was like the pimp. Because I think that taping was done, and whoever was sponsoring this whole thing from beginning to end was the one who got the tapes.
Right.
It wasn't Epstein. In other words, he's not the top of the food chain here in this organization. It goes probably 2 or 3 levels above him. Somebody had to finance it. Somebody had to pave the way. And it's obvious if you read his, I mean, the way he got his money, I mean, it just sounds like he was, you know, the luckiest guy in the world. He went from just a nobody to an options trader overnight. And who was funding him? How did he get the funds? You got to buy your way on the markets. You can't just go in there and start from the ground level. You've got to have a bankroll to be a trader, because you put your own stuff at risk. So so somebody financed this thing from the get-go, it looks like to me. So you've got a financial part of it, and I think I see who that is. It's the Rothschilds, it appears. I mean, all of a sudden, out of the blue, Lynn Forrester pops up in 1995 to talk to Clinton about Epstein's knowledge in the, I don't know, something to do with financial, and that gets Epstein and Clinton together while Clinton is president. And obviously, if Lynn Forrester knew about him and she married a Rothschild, then that was prior to him. So the Rothschild relationship was prior to the Clinton relationship. The Clinton relationship goes back 20 years or more. So that's the financial end. That's how it all got put together. And then you've got the intel side, or the spy side, or whatever side you want to call it, that then puts in to operation, the operation, which is to create this island, create a situation where they can get evidence on all these people doing all kinds of things that are illegal. I mean, it's not just probably underage kids that stuff's going on out there. Okay. I mean, there's probably other things going on besides that. So it's a whole myriad of information. So who gets that information? See, Epstein's not the guy who goes to those people and blackmails them. It's somebody else. It's another organization. And if you look deep into him, a lot of the ties go back to Israel, and that means Rothschild.
That doesn't surprise me.
So I think that's what we're looking at here. So to me, it's just going to be interesting to see if all this stuff eventually comes out. And it's only really going to take one or two things to come out, one little thread to be pulled, and the whole thing will unravel. Because once something like that, the momentum gets up, there's, it's whoever talks walks, whoever talks first, whoever's willing to come in and get ahead of it. And somebody's going to do that. Somebody will break down and, do it if they don't get killed first. I mean, watch Maxwell's the next one in the trick bag. She's the next one. So if she ends up missing her dad, then it's going to get very interesting, because they will do that, because this is that important. And I don't think that's one of the things I don't think everybody realizes. This is a huge thing here, and we are just scratching the surface so far. It's like that iceberg, 10% is above water and 90% is below water, below the surface. And so is somebody going to scratch that scab off, and it's going to start bleeding, and it's going to, run all over the place? And that's what I'm watching for.
Marie D says she is missing, supposedly.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that too, but I have not heard anybody confirm any details about that. But I have heard that being said or being mentioned.
Well, I don't think that she's been on anybody's radar. I mean, and please correct me if I'm wrong, anyone in the chat, but I don't think anyone's really had eyes on her or known her location since 2016. And if that's not correct, please let us know in the chat.
Well,
I've not seen anything.
She did, or she did in a way surface not too long ago, because when the judge originally said he was going to release these files, she tried to block it too, but it got denied.
But her attorney did.
Right. But so that's what I mean. That's the only that's the only way that she has surfaced, is in being represented by an attorney to try to stop that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, they say missing. I view that as she's probably hiding out for sure.
Hiding. She's in
Yeah.
hiding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
I don't think that she's, been in the public eye or, that there's been any public sighting of her or someone, saying that they know of her whereabouts since 2016. And I believe it was Florida was the last known place that she was at. So, and if somebody knows otherwise or has the information on any, articles or whatever, I'd like to know about it, because that's the only thing I could find on her. Meanwhile, I don't know if this is the appropriate time or not, but I wanted to read a short article that was allegedly from a spokesperson for Saudi Arabia. Could I do that? It's entertaining, I will say, at the very least. It was on July 10th, so 4 days after his arrest.
Uh-huh.
Could I read this quickly?
Sure.
Okay, it's the tagline is Saudi royal family surprised by lack of ties to Jeffrey Epstein. And it says, a spokesperson for Saudi Arabia has announced that King Salman is genuinely shocked by the lack of ties between the Saudi royal family and disgraced billionaire Jeffrey Epstein. It has been reported that the king is investigating those responsible. He is linked to the most powerful people in the world, said a royal spokesman. We read it on Wikipedia. There's no way we're missing on that list. Or there's no way we're missing out on that list. We will do whatever is necessary to form a relationship with Mr. Epstein immediately. The king currently blames this fault on his son, Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who seems to think that hanging out with Jared Kushner makes him, quote, edgy. I honestly thought we already had ties, said the prince. We made all the other lists, the Panama Papers, the Paradise Papers. We even had ties to Trump before. I cannot believe no one had gotten in touch with Mr. Epstein. The prince said he is immediately working on fixing the relationship between the family and Epstein by supplying legal help to the billionaire. We've had quite some luck in the U.S. legal system before, so we hope we could mend this relationship. What?
This is satire. Come on, are you kidding? You're not taking it. You better not be taking this serious. This is satire. Come on. Fuck.
I couldn't help it.
We have to end on a joke, I guess, on Tuesday night. Oh well. Okay, we owe you one. Yeah, she was going to try to punk us all, and it didn't work. So, oh yeah, okay. I almost interrupted you, but then I thought, no, let her finish, because it might get better, which it did. So,
oh my God, isn't that something?
Yeah, the quote from the prince was the topper. Yeah, we're gonna have to get on that right away.
Oh man, we gotta fix this.
Yeah. It's not good for PR. Okay.
Yeah, we kind of have a little humor, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's funny.
Too much.
Wow.
I was sitting there listening to her. I didn't know where she was going with it. So.
Hey, I didn't write it. I just read it. But it was good. It's from the Mideast Beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's still 60 people here, but a lot of work for me tomorrow. So I think I'm going to try to end it here. And if we hear anything or something big pops off, we'll come back on live and talk about it. If not, then I'm going to try to do maybe Thursday, do a Vegas call-in show with some of the other people that I've been meaning to get to.
I will. I'm not going to end it on a joke. I am going to say one more thing, although that was funny. But I will say, I do see, and we talked about this the other day, Paladin and I. But one thing that is in the middle of all of these things that are happening. You know, there was a shooting on the 28th, and then one on the 3rd, one on the 4th, essentially the same day, 13 hours apart. All this Epstein stuff, you know, now he's, you know, gone. The FBI raid all of this, and there were some documents that were supposed to be released, or, you know, it was said that they would be released anyway on July 31st that still aren't released. Is that correct, Paladin? Still not released. The FISA documents, the emails, the text messages, the
Yeah.
correspondence.
Yeah.
All
Yep.
of those documents that the FBI has fought tooth and nail to not release, the intelligence agencies have fought tooth and nail to not release, still aren't released, that were, you know, going to be out on July 31st. July 31st, August 1st is the day that we see all these articles out there about how the FBI is concerned that Trump is encouraging, you know, thoughts of domestic terrorism and extremist behavior, you know, based on kind of, you know, fueling the fire of these conspiracy theories. Just remember that. One thing that we haven't seen still are these documents. So it's just something to pay attention to.
That's why I like having you guys on. I like to listen more than I like to talk, because you can learn a lot of stuff if just listening to people talk. I mean, so I want to say thank you, Paladin and Gail. You guys are not so much Paladin, but you guys are regulars on the show. And Cheryl, if you're still there,
I'm still here.
thank you so much.
I enjoy listening. I
Thank you so
love
much.
listening to KL and Paladin. I love listening to the, you know, to them. And I know with the Epstein case, if it wasn't a prisoner inside or a jailmate inside, I think it would be somebody higher than the Clintons that killed him.
Well, social media is blowing up with the Clintons.
Yeah, I kind of think it would be somebody bigger than the Clintons, you know. Like, I don't know. It was weird because the day after Epstein was killed or died, it was showing Prince Andrew going to church with his mother and waving out the window in the vehicle at people smiling away. And I thought, boy, he looks very happy some reason. But I'm really hoping they take all of them down, because, you know, if they're all involved, they should all have to pay the price.
I agree. Well, again, thank you for coming on the show, and
thank you for having me.
And we will definitely do it again. I kept reading all the Clinton things, so I went and put a new. Actually, I'll show it to you guys. Let's see if I can screen share it. I went and put a little shirt on my Teespring that says I'm glad I don't have any dirt on the Clintons. I would so wear the damn shirt, but I don't know if anybody else would, but I thought it was funny. Other than that, I've got nothing except for the bed. So that's my next slogan here. So KL,
Thank you, Cheryl. Thanks, Cheryl, for coming on and sharing with us. I really appreciate and enjoyed hearing what you had to say.
You're welcome. And I always enjoy listening to all of you and that. If I stay up, I'm able to stay up and not fall asleep.
Boy, I know what that's like.
But yeah, I have to say everybody has a good conversation and good on good topics and that.
Did we lose TruthBomb?
I don't think so.
Where'd
Did
he
we?
go? There he is. No. Yeah, we did.
So it's just us?
Yeah. Let's run amok.
Yes.
Oh, I can't run amok. My phone's about to die.
Oh, no. Oh, gosh.
Imagine
Yeah,
that.
I can have a party now. Raid
You
the
guys can have a
refrigerator.
party. My phone will cut out any second, any minute.
Raid the refrigerator.
I'm guessing
Okay.
he just lost power, so
Yeah, he may have gotten hit with lightning or something. Yeah, so I'm finished too. I'm time for me to go to bed.
yeah, we'll probably get cut off anyway. Thanks again, Cheryl. Let's do it
Yeah.
again soon.
Yeah,
Paladin,
thanks,
I'll talk
Cheryl.
to you soon. Thanks
You're
everyone in the
welcome.
chat.
And good night to
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, TruthBomb just posted in the chat he lost power.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
Well, everybody
Oh.
have a good night. Thanks everyone in the chat.
We lost TruthBomb, huh?
Yep. Yeah, he lost power.
Have a party without him, huh? Oh boy. Okay. Well, you guys take it easy and be safe.
You too.
You do the same, Cheryl. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye
Night,
bye.
Night, everybody.